Wednesday. How are we doing today, everybody? I will wait a little bit, but I'm so stoked to have a very good friend, financial planner. We are talking money today. Brittney Castro, she is jumping on and she's going to give us the 411. She's going to get us dialed in. Hi, how are you guys? Hi, Kevin. I hope you guys are ready to have a good conversation about money today. We have a financial planner, dear friend, Brittney Castro, schooling us on how to manage your money. However, before we do that, we're going to have an even more interesting conversation. So let me get but I'm super stoked to chat with her. We got to flip the oh, there she is. Hi.
I was just getting my lighting set up.
Very important. Lighting is
How are you?
a priority. I'm good, babe. How are you?
Good.
I'm so excited to chat with you.
Me too.
We just did a amazing retreat together this past weekend and got to learn a lot more about you. And actually, we wanted this segment to be all about, financial planning and talk about how, even some savvy moves that maybe women struggle with. But then we got to talking in the car about both of our respective industries and how they lean more masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And as women in our industry, where there tends to be more men present, that has, for me personally, created a shift in my femininity. In a way where, for those of you that are watching, in a way where I have felt I have needed to step up in a more masculine way.
Mm.
And I think I felt super related to you and connected to you by kind of understanding that that was something maybe you struggled with too. So I wanted to see if you could shed some light, because we're entering a new time where women are making moves and entering into spaces, and it's feeling competitive. And we even talked about what like men might be going through. So I think for me with you, I'm so curious, like, what has been your experience as a woman in a male dominated industry like finance, and how have you had to navigate that?
Yeah, so it is interesting because I think I never even knew when I first started my career, like masculine, feminine, like that wasn't on my radar at all. But after college, I went into a financial planning firm, and I think there was like probably 3 women in the office compared to like 30 men, and that was fine for me at that because I grew up with brothers. So it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I'm the only woman. I never felt that way. But when I was learning how to work in that model, it was like 60-hour work weeks, like long days, you're grinding, you're hustling, you're doing cold calling. Over time, in those first 5 years, I was often sick. Like my body wasn't able to handle it because I was like pushing in this masculine way of working, and I didn't know it at that time. So once I started to like take care of myself and like figure out, okay, how do I stay in this industry but like do it my own way, then I had to unlearn a lot of the things I was like trained to, like how to work. I had to unlearn that model and find my own version of how to work. And then that's kind of when I started my spiritual journey, and I learned more about feminine and masculine energies, and I just started to tap more into who I was as a woman. Even though I was in this male dominated world, it didn't matter. I just started to trust more of my own rhythm of working, which was a lot more of a connection based relationships. I wasn't always like going into my work mode or work week thinking I got to get the results, and if I don't get the results, then the day was ruined. I would just go into the day like, I'm going to just show up, help people, connect with people, and I think if I do that, it's going to work. And so it took experience of like me then creating a lot of content, giving a lot of value around financial education to start to see, oh, this rhythm, this more feminine way of working is actually better for my success in the long run, better for my health. So that meant I wasn't working 12-hour days. I was taking time to go have lunch with a friend or go be in nature, or if I was tired and exhausted, stop, and I would, okay, I'm going to come back to this tomorrow, not keep grinding and hustling and hustling and hustling. So now I have a good balance and handle on all of it, but I really did, back then it was a journey, and now I appreciate being a woman in like
Yeah.
a male dominated field. Like, I think it's a leverage, it's a strength, it's part of like, okay, this is almost like my selling point, now.
Yeah. Yeah. And you leaned into it. And I love that so much because there's toxic femininity, right? Where we're trying to be masculine. And I
Mm,
think leaning into, like, for instance, my respective career as a broadcaster, the light switched for me too. I didn't have to be like the guy. Like
yeah.
I'm better with more emotion, with
Hmm.
compassion. You're going to have a completely different interview with me than you will with my male counterpart. And by the way, there's no right or wrong, there's no good or bad. It's just
The
different.
difference,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm so
well and I
glad that I have that.
Well, and I think that's beautiful that you said that, because there's no, like, I love the masculine energy. We need the masculine energy. That's part of life. But to try to mimic that as a woman, it won't ever work for me. So just fall into the natural essence of who I am, which maybe is more of that nurturing, compassionate, or empathetic, whatever it might be, and bring those forth. And then that's where we have that nice harmony or balance of energies in the workplace, out of the workplace. And it takes, I think, for me as a woman, it takes that, like, slowing down, surrender,
Mm.
like trusting, respecting the masculine energy when it shows up, not trying to compete with it. But that's a lot. That was a lot of learning and relearning and continual learning,
Yeah.
in life,
Yeah, because the gender roles, we're so confused right now, right? Because I feel like we're entering into new fields and new spaces and higher positions, and we think, like you said, we need to be a certain way. And for me, slowing down, which has been really hard, I'm always like, go, 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 stack my schedule. I want to be busy. But then I'm just working for everybody else. I'm not taking care of me. You have burnout, overwhelm, all of the things. I'm no good for anybody. I'm not good for my
Mm-hmm.
job. I'm not good for me. I'm not good for my family. I'm not good for my friends. So I think for people that are tuning in, this is such a powerful conversation because we perceive ourselves as though we need to fit a certain role or a certain way. And I think if we just slow down, like for instance, even with my therapy, I see a therapist weekly. I used to sit in that chair and go, okay, so here's what's wrong with me. And now I sit in the chair and I go, hi, how are you doing today? Like I don't just worry about me. And it's so like nice to actually form connection as a feminine, as a female. That's what gives me energy, is connection, relatability. And that's why I love my job as a broadcaster, as a storyteller, because just getting right to the point and not worrying about the relationship, like the relationship is always going to be the most important thing to me. So I love that we had that conversation. And also, men are struggling too right now. I think, men are kind of like figuring out their way, and it's not an easy time for them. I don't know if you have anything you want to add regarding that whole dynamic, but we did talk a little bit about it and I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a challenging time for everybody in terms of like the gender roles, and everybody seems a little confused. And I only know for me, like, I have to be very diligent about going within to do my inner work. That's why I do a lot of meditation retreats. My spiritual community is really big for me, because it keeps me in my natural essence and clarity around that. And then I see too, like, okay, men, they're, like you said, they're figuring it out, like, for a long time, if men were too masculine or too out there or in your face, like,
Mm-hmm.
society is like, ew, you're a horrible person. And, you know, so it's almost like I think a lot of men couldn't just be men. You know what I mean? Like, couldn't just express, and their expression is maybe like stronger than ours, or sometimes more quote unquote harsh than a woman's expression, but it doesn't mean it's bad, you know? So I think just like, you know, I've never been a man hater. I mean, I love men, and I think we need the men, you know, we need the men to step up, and we need to respect and honor them, just like, you know, we want men to respect and honor the woman and the feminine essence. So it's a, all I know
I
about
got a
any of
call.
this is like,
Sorry.
oh, you got a call, no problem. All I know is still learning, and I think it's just for me in my own individual journey, just to keep coming back to like, how am I showing up? Am I being, you know, real, authentic? Am I coming from that vulnerable, feminine side? And it's not always easy. Like you and I have talked about this. The inner work is not easy. And sometimes it's very challenging to look at things you need to change in your life, or if you're not getting the results, how are you going to, you know, own it and not be, you know, struggling or victim, but like create something different. And I think, you know, men, women, we're all just here trying to do our best, like figure it out. So, you know, to like punish each other or hate on each other, to me, is never the answer.
So well said, and I agree with what you said regarding the fact that it's just been a time, it's been a dynamic time, and
Mm-hmm.
offering grace, empathy, patience, self-exploration. We talked about like it isn't easy to like look at yourself and go, where was I responsible? Like, where am I accountable? And what can I learn in terms of growth when things happen that I don't like?
Yeah.
That don't make me feel good. Like, where am I, you know, like considering myself the victim in this? You know, another thing that I really wanted to talk to, and then we can get into the finance advice.
No worries.
I am reading this book, A New Earth. It's
Mm.
backwards, whatever. And in it, I literally today, oh, did I just lose? Oh, no, okay. I literally today, which was fascinating because this book keeps synchronizing with my life. Remember the karma thing? I sent you the karma
I
thing.
saw it too, your abundance page today,
And
and
then
I was
my
like,
abundance page. I mean, come on. But today, what was really interesting was money can activate the pain body and cause complete unconsciousness, pending your relationship to money growing up. Now, look, like I grew up in a very affluent neighborhood. My parents both worked. So the people around me were very well off, well to do. My parents were not. They, you know, they both worked, they both sacrificed, they cared about education. I appreciate that. So it's funny because where does abundance, and do you understand the pain body? I'm sure you do, because it's probably different with everybody you work with regards to their relationship to money. Like, is that something that you have to figure out when you're working with people?
yeah. So I was a financial planner for many years, and it was very intimate. You kind of become. I was never a therapist, licensed, or anything, but you kind of become it, an insider on the world of people and money and dynamic and their relationship, and it's beautiful to think like I had all of those experiences with individuals over the years. But I think with money, I mean, even me, we all have to say, okay, how did we grow up with money? What are the societal um, maybe mindsets that we're holding on to with money? Are we in an abundance? Are we in scarcity? And then I think at some point in your adult life, you just have to say, like, no more. I'm not going to hold on to anything that's preventing me from moving forward, whether it was how my parents grew with money, or the neighborhood I grew up, or what I learned or didn't learn in school about money, or experiences. I mean, it really is the conscious work daily to say, okay, I can create abundance. I can create the income I want. And it shows up in little things. So, for example, if you're negotiating a contract and maybe or a salary increase, and maybe you're like, I don't know if I'm worth it, or I'm too nervous to ask for the money, or that number feels extremely high. Those are like, that's it. That's the work. It's like the little things every day around money that we have to constantly be aware of, because you can either be creating the same cycle and the same habits, or consciously choosing new ones for yourself. Even like with spending, sometimes I'll get into this, like, oh, like this feels like a lot of money. And then I'm like, no, more money will come to me. Like, so, but I'll still have those moments where like, and now I think just because I've, worked and made money for some time now, um, I'm a lot more honoring of my money. Like, I don't want to say I'm cheap with my money, but even I'm just way more aware. Like before in my early 20s, I was just like, whatever, I was always like conscious of money and saving and stuff, but I don't think I like really took the value of a dollar because I was so busy like doing my life and building my career. Now I have awareness, like, okay, everything's comes with a cost. Do you know what I mean? Like if I'm going to spend this, fine, spend it freely, but know that it is also like me working to have that money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I just honor my money, I think, a lot more than I used to, which is good. But that was conscious work to, move through scarcity, move through fears. I've been an entrepreneur. I've had to like I've risked a lot. You know what I mean? Like, oh God, you're like sometimes looking at like, I made so many mistakes or whatever. I've invested so much in my career, but that's what it takes.
Yeah. And I like that you use the word scarcity, because scarcity really feels for me like the opposite of abundance.
Yeah.
And I've navigated a lot of scarcity. I've, it's a weird relationship with money. Because it can feel really freeing and empowering. And at the same time, depending on, like you said, the relationship that you had when you were younger to it and how it was treated and how your parents talked about it, can really dictate your relationship to money now. And I still even go like, oh, should I spend that much money? Like there's parts of me that's like, no, I'm doing it. I'm worth it. But then also there are parts of me that have an interesting relationship to money, which, I guess we're all a work in progress. It's all an opportunity to learn like who you are and what, I think the thing I struggle with is receiving too. Like I struggle with receiving. And so, it's an interesting topic to dive into. Like money is not just what's in your bank account. Money is like, what do you value? Do you value things? Do you value moments? Do you value experiences? Do you value travel? Do you value spirituality? Like I spend a lot of money on like self-help and it's the best money
But
spent.
that's so beautiful. I think that's the one thing I'm with you there. And one thing like I had to unlearn is like how our society defines success. Because a lot of people, even me, would like in my early 20s, like look at the people with the mansions, the nice car, the money, the abundant lifestyle, and be like, yes, that's what I want. But I didn't realize that maybe they're not even fulfilled. Their inner wasn't being worked on, and they weren't having even just happiness or peace in their life, or who knows what. And so now I'm so much more like, the inner is what's wealthy to me. Like, yeah, I of course want a nice life, but even when I interact with other people, like to me, it doesn't impress me if you have a nice car, a nice house. Yes, I think beautiful. You worked hard to have that. Like you should enjoy the fruits of your labor. You deserve that. But I am more attracted to someone's inner. Like that's I think how you and I connected, because it was like you picked up on that in me, and then you were open and I could see it in you. And then we had this deep, meaningful conversation that wasn't just surface level. And to me, that's like gold. I don't know, like in relationships, that's what I look for. Like even with men, like if men can have that kind of relationship with me, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so attractive, because the depth of a person to me is like the beauty. And so much of, I think so much of our generation, we're like almost, to me, the first time in society where we can have inner wealth and material wealth. Because back in the day, it was kind of like a lot of religions promoted one or the other, right? Like you can be a monk and live in the mountain, but you can't really enjoy the world, or you know what I mean? Or you can enjoy the world, but you can't be spiritual then if you have a lot of money. But now we're like at a time where we could have inner and outer wealth, like it's pretty incredible, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. It is interesting that you're seeing a shift in that, I think, because we know a lot of wealthy people that aren't happy either. So
Yeah.
if you're constantly on that hamster wheel of desire where, and by the way, I struggle with this too, where I see a
Yeah.
house and I'm like, that's the house. I want to get that house. What do I need to do? I want the house. If I have the house, then I'm fine. Has the pool. It has the barbecue. Like life's great. But that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's
I
not,
know. We all
that's,
do it in our own ways.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Well, that's why I think that inner check is so important. Like, you know, like you said, it's a work in progress. Money is ongoing. When you get one house, then you want the next house. When you
Yeah.
get to one level income, then you want the next level income. So, you know, learning to be content with where you're at, yet still growing and evolving, because that's a natural human. We want to grow, we want to evolve. It's like the balance. It's what we're all trying to do,
And
right?
it is so hard because like look at the paradox or the contradiction of like me, how is spirituality and my desire for growth, you just said balance, like how is that wanting more of that any less different than wanting the mansion? You know, it's still
Mm.
in the head. Like you said, there has to be a willing to kind of just accept and not always be on the hamster wheel. And look, like I don't have the answer for that. And maybe I'll never have the answer for that. But I do feel more fulfilled when I have these types of dialogues rather than you tell me what your resume is, the kind of car you drive, the kind of house you have. Like at the end of the day, that's like you said, like some people prioritize things differently. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong, but when I can just see you as a human and I can relate to you, like I feel good with that.
Yeah.
Last but not least, and I went over my time with you, which I knew was going to happen. Can you give us a little financial advice? That would be wonderful. As a financial planner, you helped me a little bit. You were hooking me up with some knowledge in the car on our drive to the retreat. So
Yeah, I mean, there's always a few. One I would suggest that I do and I love is a weekly or monthly money date. And this is just really time in your calendar where you're dedicated to looking at your finances. Oftentimes, we're overwhelmed at all the things we need to do in life, and yet with our finances is just one category of our life. So if you have dedicated time every Monday or once a month, you know, you're going to look at your accounts, you're going to look at your spending, you're going to just get ahead, what's coming up on the horizon, what do I need to start saving for, look at. You're going to maybe make some calls to your financial people, your, you know, insurance, CPA. You're just going to handle the things that you need to as it relates to your goals and your finances. To me, that makes it, one, you have awareness and consciousness, and then it takes it out of your mindset during the days. So I think that's an incredible thing that we can all do and continue to do, because I don't know if you've noticed, but life changes all the time. Like literally, you know, we had a pandemic. Like who could have predicted that? Like there's going to be so many more changes. So to think that you just set a plan or set a budget or set your accounts and you're set for life is not real. It's like a constant learning and evolution. So those monthly money dates, I think, are key to building a good relationship. Or you might say, you know what, I'm still feeling anxious with my money. What else do I need to do to incorporate into my life to start to remove that anxiety and get back to the abundance? You know, you'll notice things when you check in on a regular basis with your finances. So I think that is like an incredible thing that you can have for the rest of your life, to do these monthly money date check-ins. Whether you have a lot of money, a little money, it doesn't matter, because it's going to keep changing. So
yeah.
if you can get in that habit, you're going to be more aware, more conscious, more on top of things, and hopefully that will alleviate a lot of the stress and overwhelm and anxiety that people default to, because they avoid the money and they think it's bad, or it's usually not as bad as we think it is. But our mind, if we're not doing things, our mind will make up worst case scenarios. So just getting involved and engaged will help.
I love that. So empowering. Make a date with your finances and just know, like, do you know what you pay a month in your, you know, cable bill or whatever?
All of it.
And like you said, you can find maybe some opportunities to mitigate costs if that's the case. Brittney Castro, you are so amazing. I cannot
Thanks,
wait to see you
Erin.
on the dance floor again,
I
my salsa
know.
queen. Thank you
Yes.
for everything.
Thanks, Erin. Love
I'll,
chatting with you always. Bye.
I will see you soon. Bye, friend.
Okay.